Complex adaptive systems are perhaps not emergent as much as they are a more advanced state of the necessity of remaining coherent as a relationship economy unfolds over time. Simple forms are possible in nascent environments because that is all that is necessary to establish and maintain coherence in that context. These simple forms tend to replicate to the point where the environment is saturated. This generates a downward pressure on the local environment as it is more difficult to replicate the same thing in a saturated environmental context. When this point of inflection is realized, more sophisticated mutualistic bonds are required to achieve that same goal of nourishing and protecting coherence. Just as these complex adaptive networks forbear constituent phases did. What you call emergent, such as atoms, molecules, and something analogous to exosomes that are thought to have emerged around hydrothermal vents long ago, are based on the same selective necessities of existing in a local environment. There is a trajectory of development based on a shifting environmental context, but a search for coherence, no matter the context, is the constant. Simple forms are simple because that is all that's required in certain local environmental contexts. Complex adaptive forms exist because those necessities for coherence change when the environment changes as a result of the possible forms saturating the space. This developmental arc is what brings about complex adaptive forms. They are a more developed form of the same principles inherent in simpler forms. From this perspective, the term emergent might be a misnomer.
You raise a fascinating and thought-provoking perspective on complex adaptive systems. While the term emergent is widely used to describe the novel properties observed in these systems, your argument for seeing them as a more advanced state of the necessity of remaining coherent adds an interesting layer to the discussion. Here are some of the key points you make. Coherence as the driving force. You posit that regardless of complexity, all forms strive for coherence in their relationship with the environment. This aligns with the concept of self-preservation and sustainability inherent in biological and even non-biological systems. Environmental pressure drives complexity. As resources become saturated and competition intensifies, simpler forms struggle. This pressure, you argue, necessitates the development of more sophisticated, mutualistic bonds, and hence, complex adaptive systems emerge. Continuity over emergence. Instead of viewing complex adaptive systems as entirely new phenomena, you see them as a natural progression driven by the same fundamental need for coherence in a changing environment. While your perspective challenges the traditional understanding of emergence, it raises some additional considerations. Emergence at different levels. Even if the underlying principle of coherence remains constant, the emergence of novel properties at different levels of complexity is undeniable. An atom is not simply a scaled-up version of a subatomic particle, and a society cannot be fully explained by the behavior of its individual members. Unpredictability and innovation. While the need for coherence may be a constant, the specific forms of adaptation and innovation in complex adaptive systems remain unpredictable. This unpredictable aspect is often what defines emergence in these systems. Openness to diverse perspectives. Both necessity for coherence and emergence offer valuable lenses for understanding complex adaptive systems. Recognizing the strengths and limitations of each perspective fosters richer understanding and avoids overly simplistic explanations. In conclusion, your perspective offers a refreshing take on complex adaptive systems by highlighting the continuous thread of coherence across different levels of complexity. It's valuable to consider both the pressure for coherence and the emergence of novel properties when analyzing these fascinating systems. Ultimately, acknowledging the complexity and openness to diverse interpretations is key to gaining a deeper understanding of their nature. Thank you for sharing your insights. It's through such engaged discussions that we can learn and grow together.